Hi there guys, I'm Mr. Yancey, and today we will be practicing one of the most frequently used and, in my opinion, highly effective reading strategies in the modern classroom, that of small group discussion, or discussion groups as applied to our reading of John Updike's seminal short story, A and P. In relation to Common Core state literacy standards pertaining to students in grades 11 through 12, this particular activity challenges students to cite strong and thorough textual evidence to support analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text, including determining where the text leaves matters uncertain, and to determine two or more themes or central ideas of a text, and analyze their development over the course of the text, including how they interact and build on one another to produce a complex account. Now, as this particular exercise is a post-reading strategy, you are expected to have read John Updike's short story prior to this activity. As a refresher, however, I will remind you that A&P tells the story of Sammy, a 19-year-old cashier in a New England grocery store, who abruptly quits his job upon witnessing his boss criticize and subsequently embarrass a trio of teenage girls, clothed only in their bathing suits and miles from the beach, for their in-store attire. Now, upon exiting the grocery store, Sammy, who has verbally defended the girls and fancies himself their savior, expects the girls to be waiting for him outside, grateful for his heroic act of self-sacrifice. The girls, however, are nowhere to be found, and Sammy, reflecting upon the severity of his actions, realizes that his life will only be more difficult from this point on. Now, having divided the class into groups of 5, I would like to pose the following discussion questions as a means of focusing your respective content-based discussions. Number 1. What is the overarching theme or themes of Updike's story, and why? Now, possible themes may include the naivete of the adolescent mind, desire as a motivating factor, sexism in the everyday world, the universal tendency to presume to know what others are thinking and feeling, and finally, the consequences of one's actions. Number 2, is Sammy's boss's criticism of the 3 girls' in-store attire sexist or reasonable? For instance, you might say, well, they're nowhere near the beach, they have no reason to be wearing this, so of course it's reasonable. On the other hand, if 3 men walked into a store in their bathing suits, would they be subject to the same type of criticism? Number 3, is Sammy wrong to believe the girls will appreciate his act of self-sacrifice? That's pretty much a matter of opinion, but it's important to consider nonetheless. 4, is Sammy's decision to quit his job motivated by his boss's treatment of the girls, or does Updike hint at other underlying factors which contribute to his decision? I don't know. Personally, you know what? This is your discussion. I'll leave it at that. Number 5, how might the story have been told from Queenie's point of view? Queenie, as you know, having read the story, is the leader of the 3 girls. Number 6, as A&P was originally published in the New Yorker in 1961, what aspects of the story are representative of the era in which the story was written and the location in which it is set? For instance, the story, copyright 1961, set in Massachusetts. Maybe if the story were, I don't know, to take place in 1985 Southern California, events would occur differently. And finally, number 7, how might your opinions of Sammy's actions differ between reading A&P as a teenager and rereading it as an adult? Aside from the text itself, as well as a series of aforementioned discussion questions presented via Smartboard, now you guys need only form your discussion groups to perform this particular post-reading strategy, as we mentioned earlier. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to identify various social mores and constructs representative of the era in which the story was written, or which a particular literary work was written or set, as well as recognize the value, or lack thereof, of reading said literary work at a specific age. Furthermore, students will gain a fundamental understanding of the significance of closely identifying with a particular character upon reading the story as an adolescent, as well as the significance of more closely identifying with an entirely different character upon reading the story as an adult. Alright folks, any final questions? No? Alright, well, thank you so much for listening. Let's get to work.